Okay, so we're going to go over using formulas to solve problems. What we mean by that is we're going to be working on substituting values into unknown variables. So, this is a question. I know I haven't written everything that there is in the question, but the idea of this is we have a giant planter here, okay, and you're going to the store, and you need to fill this planter. Okay, so in other words, to fill something, we need to know its volume. They've given us the formula for volume of a rectangular prism, and we'll get into that in chapter 2. Okay, but the volume is essentially the length times the width times the height, and this will be our length, our width, and our height. So we're going to be plugging these values in to find the volume of this object. Now you have to go to the store, and let's say you have to buy gravel to fill it. They sell gravel in these cylinder cases. Okay, the volume of each of these cylinder cases is given by this formula here. We need to figure out how many of these cylinder cases to buy to fill this planter which you have at home. Okay? So the idea is, imagine we cannot move this planter. It stays at your house. So you have to go there knowing the information. Okay? So we do have information. We need to find out the volume of the planter we have. So like we said, we're going to call the 100 centimeters the length of this. We'll give that the L. Okay? Yeah, it's 18. The width of the rectangular prism will be 40, and the height of it will be 20. So we're going to be plugging those variables in. When we have brackets put beside each other, that means multiplication. So we're left with our length, which is 100 centimeters, times our width, which is 40 centimeters, times our height, which is 20 centimeters. Okay? Now, because we're talking about volume, our final answer is going to be in centimeters cubed. Cubed because there's 3 dimensions. We have 1, 2, and 3-dimensional objects, hence why we have something that's cubed. So, there's a rule of multiplication that it actually doesn't matter what order we multiply things in. Okay? Now, I know many of you have a calculator. You just type this in your calculator. But if I was going to do mental math, I'm going to multiply these two by each other first, and then multiply by 100. Okay? So, I would leave my 100. 40 times 20. This is how I would break this down in my mind. I know a 0, I can just add a 0 at the end. So I'm really looking at 2 times 40. Anyone know what that is? 80. And then I add a 0 at the end. What number is that? 800. Okay. Now I'm left with 800 times 100. Same idea. I don't need to include these zeros yet. What is 8 times 100? 800 plus another 0. 8,000 plus another 0. 80,000. So the volume of this rectangular prism is 80,000, not squared, centimeters cubed. It's 3-dimensional. Okay, so we have that. We know how much gravel or soil, whatever it is we're filling it with, we need. This is how much we need. We know we're buying them in cylinder packages. So, in this formula here, the volume of a cylinder is equal to pi. Some of you might already have it, but we're going to work through it together. Pi is a symbol for a number, right? 3.142 something. R stands for the radius. The radius of this cylinder is the distance from the middle of the circular face to the outside. And in this case, it's 18 centimeters. So we're going to denote that. I'll put it in purple. Our R is 18 centimeters. And our height, I guess we'll do it in red. Our height here is 18 centimeters. The cylinder happens to be 18 centimeters high. Okay? So we're going to be replacing H with the value of 18, and we're going to be replacing our R with the value of 18. Now we're going to need to know bed mass in order to get through this. So we have pi times 18 squared times 18. So this looks confusing. There should be a squared in there. According to bed mass, we deal with brackets first. Well, I put these things in brackets. I can't really simplify the number 18 any more than the number 18. So the two brackets are simplified. What's the second part of bed mass? Exponents. Do I have an exponent? Yeah. Right here. 18 squared. I am going to need a calculator. Anyone know what that is? Anyone help me out? What is it? 30, 34. 24. That's right? Okay, I'm trusting you. Okay, so that's 18 squared. And then we still have to multiply by our last 18 right here. Okay, so now we're back in the same boat we were before. Everything is multiplication. Okay, now this actually stands for a number, but we don't write it in because the number is excessively large. So we use a symbol to represent it. On your calculator, you guys have that pi symbol. So you can do this all in one step on your calculator now. Pi multiplied by 324 multiplied by 18. Somebody had the answer a little while ago for me. What was it? You got it? What is it? 20.76. Okay. I don't actually want to round up here. And the reason why I'm going to tell you logically, I'm just going to leave it at 18,321, is because I don't want to end up short. If I have to fill this completely to the top and I round up, I'm not actually accounting for the true amount in here. So if I'm left with a little bit of extra soil, that's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at this value here. So now that we have these two values, I need to figure out how many of those cylinder objects to buy in order to figure this, or in order to fill this planter. Now, when doing that, it's essentially the idea here. Let's see if I can. Wrong button. Sorry. I just flip these together.
Can you buy half a cylinder?
We can't. We're gonna have to buy them in. Well, imagine their bags. Where's grouping? Here it is. Group. So the idea here is we have to take. Oh, that's a cloner. I won't be able to do that. We're gonna have to take these and duplicate them. Let's see if I can do that. No, I don't want that. I should really pause this. So the idea here is we have to figure out how many of these objects we're going to have to buy to fill this up. Now looking at it, it's pretty hard. It could be 3, 4, we're not really sure, right? And obviously these aren't to scale, so that's not very helpful what I did here. But the idea is how many of those need to fill this. So what operation do I need to use with the values we have right now? Division. I have to use division, but what number do I divide by what number? For instance, I'm going to write division as fractions. Let's say we decide to take the volume of the rectangular prism divided by the volume of the cylinder. Or do I take the volume of the cylinder divided by the volume of the rectangular prism? Well, let's say we don't know the answer to this. We're going to use logic to figure it out. Okay? So the volume of the rectangular prism is 80,000. Divided by volume of the cylinder is 18,321. And the other option would be 18,321 divided by 80,000. Okay? So let's logically figure this out. We're going to divide both these values. I have a calculator here somewhere. There we go. So the one on the left, 80,000 divided by 18,321. Oh, that didn't come out. Sorry. Try that again. Divided by 18,321. There we go. 4.36. Okay. That could make sense. Let's try the other one. 18,321 divided by 80,000 gives us 0.22. Okay, 0.22. So let's make sense of this first of all. Do we think that I only need a fifth, or 0.22, roughly a fifth of a bag? Which is larger? Is our planter larger or is our cylinder larger? The planter's larger. So would I only need a fifth of this in order to fill that thing? No. So we know our second option, even though maybe we didn't know which one to use, we know this one is illogical. This makes no sense. So let's go to our second one here. That's a funny looking 6. This says we need what? 4.36. So in other words, we need 4 of these cylinders and then about a third of another one to fill that. Does that make sense? Yeah, logically that makes sense. So in other words, our rule is we take the number we're trying to fill and divide by our other value. Now, if I have to buy them in whole bags, obviously I can't go to the corner store and say I need 0.36 for the bag. The guy's going to go, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, charge me more. How many bags am I probably going to have to buy?
5.
I'm going to have to probably buy 5 bags, and I'll have a little left over, which isn't the end of the world. Okay? Oops, wrong button.